Welcome back to the channel, everyone. There's these birds outside my windows that are going to annoy me like crazy. You could probably hear them, but it's okay. It's nature. We're going to get over it. We're going to be talking about none other than the Samsung Galaxy S20 and comparing it to a phone that nobody wants to see it compared to. Nobody even cares about this phone anymore, but somebody has to make a comparison of these, and I figured I might as well do it. We're going to be comparing it against the Samsung Galaxy S6. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that this is not a comparison where I'm going to see which phone is better, because obviously the Galaxy S20, if you have any type of brain, is way better than the Galaxy S6. This is a no-brainer. Even if you don't have a brain, you can already tell. But the thing is, and for the, I just want to basically see what the evolution is. This phone, the Galaxy S6, came out back in like 2015. There's 5 years of evolution between these phones, and that is a ton of time. And I do believe that the first Galaxy came out in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably wrong about that, but with the Galaxy S20, it is the newest $1,000 phone from Samsung, and it's a crazy good phone. There's really nothing bad about it as of this point. There's a couple weird things, but the S20 is a really good phone, whereas the Galaxy S6, when it first came out, was a pretty decent phone. Then people hated it, and then, ever since then, people kind of hated it, to be honest, because Samsung did a really weird thing about it. But between both, the Galaxy S6, I wouldn't even say is the better value per dollar, to be honest. Now, you can pick up an S6 on Amazon, I'm sure, for like $150, probably even less than that. You can pick up an S20 for about $1,000. However, what I will tell you is, if you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, pick up a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus on Amazon. Those things are like less than $500. It's like less than half the price as the S20, and it's a crazy good phone. Those phones are insane. They'll last you for a couple more years too. So the Galaxy S10 Plus, I'll leave a link down in the description as well. You can get the S20 and even the S10 or S10 Plus from the links below, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, looking on the front, the Samsung Galaxy S6 has a 5.1-inch Super AMOLED 1440p display, and it's a pretty good display. I think Samsung did a really good job with this era of displays, pretty much going from the Galaxy S6 forward. They had a really good run, I think, and even with the S20, obviously it's probably one of the best displays out there, but with the S6, you have, a little bit of bezel on the top and bottom, and that is the one thing that has definitely aged this phone. And I say a little bit, but it's actually a lot. It's a lot of bezel, to be honest. You have that front-facing fingerprint sensor as well, and that home button. You have capacitive keys, and this thing definitely doesn't look like the newest phone, but it doesn't even feel like a super old phone either. The whole design with the glass back and everything, it really made this phone feel something like it wasn't, and I'll definitely give it a thumbs up in my book in terms of the way it feels. But in terms of the display and everything surrounding the display, it definitely doesn't look too good, but it looks okay, I think. For the majority of people, I think they'll be okay with the way it looks. But when you look at something like the Galaxy S20, it has that 6.2-inch dynamic AMOLED display. That is a 1440p panel as well, but it's a much, much better panel. I mean, first of all, just looking at it, we have way less bezel on it, so you have, a way less chin, you have a way less forehead. It just makes this thing look so much better. Also, on top of that, if you look at the hole punch display, it's right in the center, and if that's where the camera is. I think a lot of people want to hate on it, but really, what's there to hate on? This is the move right now. The same people who hate on the S20 say nothing about the iPhone's notch, which makes no sense. But in my opinion, the S20's hole punch display looks perfectly fine where it's at, and I definitely give it a thumbs up in my books for there. Now, looking at both of them, obviously the S20 is the far better one, but the S20 also has that really cool capability of being able to refresh that rate on that screen at 120 Hz, which is technically twice as fast as a normal 60 Hz, and it makes this phone feel so much smoother, and it doesn't make it feel faster, it just makes the experience smoother. So basically, whatever you're going to get on the display, whatever you're going to put on, it makes this thing look so good, and I really do like this thing for having that. So for sure, at the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the far better display between both of them for sure. On the bottom, USB Type-C port on the S20. On the S6, we have a micro USB port, but we also have a headphone jack on that phone, which is nice. So whether you use it or not, you have that capability. On the back, glass backs on both, and we have a triple camera setup on the Galaxy S20, where we have a single camera setup on the Samsung Galaxy S6. And I'll talk about both cameras in a minute, but really that pretty much covers it up on the outside. There is no IP certification on the Galaxy S6, where we have IP68 dust and weather resistance on the Samsung Galaxy S20, which is a really cool thing. The S6, every single phone right now has some type of IP certification, and the fact of the matter is that the S6 doesn't have it is pretty crazy in my opinion. And another thing is, and this is a huge one, the Samsung Galaxy S20 has a micro SD card slot, where the Samsung Galaxy S6 does not have any form of card slots at all, which is insane. And for a phone of this age, And for a phone like a Samsung phone, this was really the main Galaxy S phone that didn't have a micro SD card slot, which is crazy. I don't know what Samsung was thinking at the time. We have that capability on the S20 still. On the S6 we don't have it. So in terms of the outside, that pretty much covers it. The Samsung Galaxy S20 is a far better looking one and the far better performing one than the Samsung Galaxy S6 for sure. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now hitting on the software, the Samsung Galaxy S6 started off with the Android Lollipop. We are able to get Android Nougat on it. I don't know why people are saying it got Android Oreo because I'm pretty sure it didn't. This thing stopped at Android Nougat 7.0, which, at that time, I think it stemmed from there. We were saying at the time, we're like, dude, Samsung, can you please upgrade it for another version, this and that? And they didn't listen, and they didn't listen for the S7, and they didn't listen for the S8 more recently. So it's pretty crazy, these phones could have probably handled another version or two. But with the S6, it doesn't really matter at this day and age. And it's funny because I made a video talking about it, but I had to delete it because it was kind of weird. But hopefully at the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy S6 still kind of lives on with some software, with some custom ROMing out there, and I'll go ahead and try to custom ROM mine and see what I can do with it. I'm not really too sure if it's a possibility, but we'll go ahead and see what I can do with it. Whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S20, this thing just is getting started with software updates. It's starting off with Android 10 on One UI 2, which is really nice, and this thing is going to last for many, many more years in terms of Android. In terms of iOS, it's like half the life cycle as iOS, but we'll get 2 more software updates out of it. So if you get it today, it'll get Android 11 and then Android 12, and it'll probably end there. It's not going to go too crazy, but for the majority, but Samsung also might actually extend their life cycle of these phones too. We just really don't know because Samsung is being really weird about it. So hopefully Samsung at some point does actually go and support their phones for a little bit longer. That would be really, really cool. If they just push one more software update on these phones, that would be extremely cool, and I'd have so much respect for them if they were to do that. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the performance, the Samsung Galaxy S6 came out with the Exynos 7420 Octa chipset and octa-core CPU, and there were a couple different models, the 32, 64, 128 gig model, and all those models had 3 gigabytes of RAM. But the Samsung Galaxy S20 has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, and Adreno 650 GPU. And there's only one model of the S20, the 128 gig model with 12 gigabytes of RAM. And what I can tell you at the end of the day is the Galaxy S6 really isn't a good performing phone anymore, especially in now day and age. With all these apps that require so much RAM and require so many resources from the phones, it just isn't that good. And especially the fact that the Galaxy S6 stopped at Android 7.0 on their Samsung TouchWiz or whatever, Samsung Experience, whatever it was, that was probably the cream of the crop. That was pretty bad, That software, Samsung really was never able to swallow it down from there, and that's something that's not really good. I don't really respect Samsung a lot for doing that. Whereas on the Galaxy S20, Samsung kind of took a different approach, and I'm glad they did it. They kind of fixed their software, and it's still not perfect. It still has a lot of problems, but at least it's a step in the right direction, and I can respect Samsung for doing that. So in terms of the software experience and everything like that, you're going to be getting a better experience and better performance from the Samsung Galaxy S20 over the Samsung Galaxy S6, and that is just a given. That's a easy one. The Samsung Galaxy S6, maybe it was good at the time, but even now when I use it, it's super slow, super sluggish. I don't really understand what the hype about this phone was at the time, but I understand because people didn't really like it at the time either. But the Samsung Galaxy S20 for sure is the best phone in terms of performance between both of these for sure, and I can't believe I spent a minute and a half talking about that. So that pretty much covers it up there. Now hitting on the cameras, the Samsung Galaxy S6 has a single 16 megapixel wide angle lens. The Samsung Galaxy S20 has a triple camera sensor, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. And for sure at the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy S6 is the best camera, right? Not just kidding. The Samsung Galaxy S20 is the better camera for sure. You can do 4K at 60, you just have more camera lenses, which just adds to the better experience overall. But on top of that, you have the capability of shooting 8K video on the Samsung Galaxy S20, where we don't have that capability on in 95% of phones out in the market. So that is a really, really cool thing. I honestly don't even know any phones that can do 8K on their phone cameras, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 has that capability, which is a really, really cool thing, and I have a lot of respect for Samsung for doing that. On the front, 5 megapixel on the S6, 10 megapixel on the Samsung Galaxy S20, 4K at 60 on that front camera on the S20, and only 1440p on the S6. So in terms of the camera sensors, the S20 definitely wins here. Now ending it off with the battery life, this is another area where the Samsung Galaxy S20 wins. The S20 has a 4000 mAh battery, the Galaxy Galaxy S6 has a 2550 mAh battery. Both have wireless charging, which is nice, but the Galaxy S20 has that reverse wireless charging where you can technically charge a Galaxy S6 from the S20 but not the other way around. So the Galaxy S20 is definitely the better winner here. And obviously the S20 was going to win this video, but it's really cool to see the differences in the involvement and evolution that has happened since the beginning with the S6 to now with the Galaxy S20. There's a lot of cool little differences between these phones, that maybe a lot of people don't give it enough credit, especially going from the S10 to the S20. It might seem like a small upgrade, but looking to where they started, even they didn't even start with the S6, they started with the S1. But even looking at those phones and comparing it to these ones, like there's some pretty crazy differences with them for sure. So I have a lot of respect for Samsung for doing this. So if you want to pick up the S20 or the S10 or the S10 Plus, which are those ones I would say are better deals, I'll leave those linked down in the description below. But that pretty much covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those things are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.